Welcome to the Rollga podcast featuring Christine Conti. This is episode 002. It was a great conversation to have with Chris. She is a 9-time Boston Marathon runner, ultra-marathon completionist, 2-time Ironman with her next one coming soon, and a best-selling author. This was a fantastic conversation. I'm excited for you guys to listen in. So let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to the Rollga podcast, Chris. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. In fact, it's an honor.
Thank you so much, Dane. I'm so excited to be here and speaking with you and all of your listeners today from the Jersey Shore is where I'm hailing.
Love it. Yeah, we absolutely love talking to people like you because you just represent those people that get after it. They really get after life. You're 100% the mold of just really inspiring people. So welcome.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate the inspiring because some people call it crazy, but I think it's the norm.
Yeah. And most excitingly, we're talking on the phone clearly right now, but it sounds like we're going to spend some time with you this summer. You're going to come up to Minnesota, potentially race Clearwater Triathlon. You excited?
I am super excited. However, after hearing from, I believe Sherry was on, right? From episode 1.
Yep.
Talking about the cold water. We're going to have to talk about that. But other than that, yes, I should be there.
Love it. Yeah, Clearwater, it's a heat race. It's a warm race. The water temp's actually going to be good to have a wetsuit, but sometimes it will surprise you. And when you're up here, we'll have to, I suppose it won't be up, it would be more just, would it be west?
Across. Yeah.
Across. So in that case, we'll have to take you to the quarries where the real cold water is. We have these rain-filled quarries in central Minnesota. It's probably the most iconic things you can do here. And of course, they're meant for swimming, but some people do cliff diving. It's actually pretty cool. But what's interesting about them is you can look down and see very far down because it's rainwater. It's just super clear. It's not like any of those open water swims you've probably done before where, you're
right.
dodging, fish, that are floating because, the water's so warm, or, you put your arm in and it's just gone because the lake's so muddy.
Or you're completely covered in jellyfish stings because there's long tentacles everywhere. I mean, either one.
Yeah, I don't have that experience, but yeah, that's East Coast racing is definitely on my bucket list.
Come on over. You always have a place at the New Jersey Shore.
Love it. So let's jump in. Chris, for our Rollga audience who's tuning in, why don't you tee up a little bit about yourself, your story, how you came to be with endurance sports?
Wow. Okay. So you're talking to a former D1 volleyball player is really where I came from with athletics. I have 2 older sisters who also played collegiate volleyball. All of us, we hit volleyballs and they paid for us to go to school. So I come from a long line of athletes. However, I was always told growing up that, sports are a hobby, and that you always had to find out what you really wanted to do in life. And that was kind of how I was brainwashed. So I was an investment banker. I left that because it wasn't the right fit for me. Wound up teaching, getting my master's in teaching so then I could coach. I did that for 15 years. And in the meantime, always taught fitness classes. I was a personal trainer, group X. I did the side hustle, always had a million jobs, and I loved movement. And I didn't realize that movement was so important to me and that I always wanted to be in the fitness industry. But I was told that fitness is a hobby, just like sports. Well, I started getting picked up by some companies to be a master trainer. And let's just say that teaching didn't allow me the time to train and put into fitness that I really wanted. So I wound up, when I was 30, I got diagnosed with a really aggressive autoimmune disease. And again, I'd never run. I didn't bike. I didn't swim. That wasn't my thing. Well, I kind of, after a spiral of, wow, what if, I'm not going to be able to walk in the future? What if, and I had a grandmother who had the same disease, and it left her paralyzed for most of her life until she died. She passed away when I was 10, and I never saw her walk. And that's all I thought of was, this is going to be me. This is my fate. And after months of kind of soul searching, I decided, you know what, Christine, you have two choices in life, and it's going to be do something or do nothing. And that's when I decided, well, damn it, I'm going to do something. And I wanted to make sure that if my body was going to fail me, that I was going to do all the things. And one of them, one of my bucket list items was, I want to run a marathon, which I thought I could never do. And I started getting into running and realizing that this was inspiring other people, and inspiring other people with diseases that they could do it too. And that it's not okay to give up, and you have to keep moving. And that's kind of how I got into running, was just, through kind of helping other people and raising money for charities. And fast forward, I was just running, and the Iron Man Foundation found out about my story, about, kind of trying to inspire others who have diseases. And they had said, we'd love for you to be, run for the Iron Man Foundation or participate. And I was like, Iron Man? I'm like, I could never do that, but it was on the bucket list. And I said, all right, let's do it. So I think I accepted that in November, and that was for Ironman Lake Placid in July of that, next year. So I had, 8 months to learn how to swim, to learn how to ride a road bike, because, I barely even know what a tri-bike is at this point, and I'm a couple Ironman deep. And I just said, you know what, this will be a great journey. And I documented the whole thing. That is how I got into endurance racing. I didn't do these Olympics or sprints or this or that. It was, kind of all or nothing. So there it is. There's the story of how I got into it.
Excellent. So you've done, sounds like a couple Ironmans now. Who knows how many marathons, not only just in actual practice, but in actual racing. And you've done some long races too. What's the furthest running race you've done to date?
Okay, I don't recommend this for everybody. But I did a 100-mile race, and it was quite an experience. That's all I have to say about that. Bring your crew, bring your positive mindset, and know that you are going to hallucinate at some point during 100 miles.
So let's walk through that experience a little bit. So let's maybe break it into marathon distance, because for the normal people, a marathon is quite the achievement. So how did you feel at 26.2 miles versus how you felt at 50 miles?
26. I felt like a phenomenal princess at 26. You start out at 7 a.m. for my race. So, I mean, you hit that marathon at, in the morning. It's still morning. So you're feeling good. You're talking, you kind of find a crew. You find I call it my wolf pack, to figure out, I actually found a couple people, and we made a pact that we were going to stay together and we were going to finish no matter what. We're finishing. So, you kind of get to know people, when you run with them for 18 hours, but 20, great. 50, all right. You're feeling a little tired. You stop when you need to. It really didn't get good though. It didn't get like to the point where you're like, what is happening? Until you hit about mile 70, it was pitch black. It was cold. It was raining. It was muddy. There was terrain to deal with, crossing, bridges of down trees over these rivers that were flowing. You got a headlamp on. You look to the left. I'll never forget this. And there were all these red, fiery eyeballs. And you just stopped in your tracks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please let these be deer. Please let them be deer. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness they're deer. Okay. Because your mind really plays tricks on you from not sleeping and what your body just has to go through physically to get through such an event. So you should really do it, Dane, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. You're really doing a good job selling it to me right now, Chris. Blacking out sounds great.
No, I saw a couple black bears climbing, but they were up in trees, so it was very interesting. There was a lot of great conversation that took place along those. You really get to know people and get their why, and people that I probably will never see ever again in life, but you just bond over these amazing experiences.
For sure. So walk me through your nutrition plan when you're doing a race of that distance. What's similar in a race of Ironman distance where you're shooting for, 12-hour finish, whatever that might be. But what's that look like when you're doing an ultra once you get to mile 50 or 75, because you're going for just about 24 hours in these races, right?
Right. So I think every race is totally different. I mean, a 5K, you're not eating. You don't have to drink. You just go. I think of you can read every book you want. You can go to get free certification under the belt, but you have to know your body. You have to. And for me, I'm so in tune with, all right, I know how many calories about that I'm burning. I know when I feel a little dehydrated. I know, and I think all of that, you have to experience it. You have to go through the training or racing. I've run almost 50 marathons, and when I first started, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I'm like, do I drink? Do I eat? Do I not? Do I gels? What are gels? What does this do? You are an experiment of one. And for me, the longer the race, the more you have to eat. I'm not someone who is going to say, oh, I'm only going to eat liquid. Even for an Ironman, there's some people that they only drink their carbs and their calories. It's an experiment, and it's like I call it, it's like a chemistry experiment. You got to be good at math. You got to, think of what's reacting with what. Did you get enough sodium? Are you this? For the 100-miler, you have to eat. Like it's morning, it's noon, it's evening, it's morning again. You have to eat your meals, and you want to have snacks in between, but it's not the same as, oh, I'll just have gels, or I'll just have. You really have to think about, what am I burning and what am I taking in? How is it reacting with my stomach? I'm not a big gel person, so I'll do an applesauce, or I found a really great new goo, and it's called Huma, Huma, I think. It's made with a chia seed base. Amazing. That works for me. But I will tell you that on the 100-milers, sometimes you have crews that'll feed you. This one, there were a couple different major stops that they had set up, like mile 30, mile 70, I don't know, another one. I mean, they were cooking. There were soups, there was sandwiches, there was, in the morning there was pancakes and sausages. But the best thing I have to say, and this is a guilty pleasure, you need to eat what you love. And my husband came to meet me at mile 70 something, and he drove to come see me. And he said, is there anything that you think you might want on the course? And I said, yes. He said, what is it? And I said, bacon, crispy bacon. Please bring me bacon. So I looked forward for 70 miles because I knew that I would see my husband with a big bag of crispy bacon. It was delicious.
For sure. The only relatable story I have, the last time I did Twin Cities Marathon, I was not concerned in the least bit about finishing, at a good time. I think I was shooting for right around 4 hours, but my goal was actually to see how much food I could eat from people giving me food that were in the audience. And I just remember eating White Castle and whatever people were handing me. I think I drank a beer along the way too. It's pretty fun.
You know what? When you think back, what we always we learned when we were little that, don't take food from strangers, don't do this. And endurance racing is really the only place where you'll take food from anybody. In addition, you don't even blink when you see someone standing on the side of the road with like a stick of Vaseline. You're like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, thank goodness the Vaseline people are there. Think about this out of context, how crazy this sounds.
Oh, for sure. People tuning into this part of the conversation, these people are something. So you're a runner, but you're also a multi-sport athlete. And you've done a couple Ironmans. Of the three disciplines, you got the swim, the bike, the run. Mm-hmm. I'm going to assume run's your go-to, your favorite. Is that a good assumption?
Oh, absolutely. I love, why? Because the run, your feet are on the ground, right? You have a lot more control than the other two disciplines. If you need to walk, you can walk. You need to go to the bathroom, you could stop it. I think it's a control thing, and you're breathing and whatnot. Whereas the other two, there's things that you can't control, and that is a little bit frightening. I was never a swimmer, and the first time I was taken for an open water swim, I had a panic attack, like legit, couldn't breathe. I needed my wetsuit off. Like it was, and I remember thinking, I have 2.5 months to be able to swim over 2 miles, and I can barely do a doggy paddle in the water right now because I'm freaking out. But the next day, I hauled my butt right back down to the same spot, and I went in. I forced myself in and forced myself to swim. And I always remember that because you know what, whatever it is you're afraid of, you need to focus on that, whatever your weakness is. And, with the bike, I had no idea what a really fast bike was. And if I think on the first Ironman I did in Lake Placid, the swim was the best. I came out of the swim and it looked as if I won an Olympic gold medal. That's what it looked like. I could have just dropped, I could have been done at that point because it was for me, that was the biggest accomplishment of not swimming and coming out in the middle of the pack. And then I got on the bike and every person in the whole race passed me, every person, because it was just new. I'd never ridden on mountains before. I didn't really know my gears. I didn't want to ride a bike, but this was very humbling. And then I got my shoes on and I passed, thousands of people on the run because that's my jam. So I think it's really interesting to figure out what you like, what frightens you. And I think every race I've done since then, there's always one part that's good. The run was great on this one. Oh, the bike was good on this one. Oh, the swim was great. But I've never had one where they're all good or they're all bad. So thank you, race gods, for that.
Excellent. So you're a unique case. There's not that many people that are just decide at some point in their life they're going to get into endurance sports. They're going to start Ironman distance triathlon. Well, what would you say for those people that are new to the sport, those age groupers that are just getting into it for the first time, knowing you were once one of them?
It's got to be fun. It's got to be something that you enjoy. And there's a lot of people that come to me and say, I want to start doing this, or this looks amazing. And I say, one thing, like one day at a time. Start with 5K. Start with short bike races. I live at the Jersey Shore. There are tons of just swims and races that are just swimming. Put one, just start with one. And then maybe, I know a lot of people that they'll ride, they'll ride their bike to a swim, and then ride it home. And there's no pressure there. And it's very natural to say, you know what, I can do this. Get a friend, get a group, look into all the local groups, and start with again, I did not do this. I am a freak of nature, that I understand. But start small. Start with the sprint, and go from there and go up. If you find that you hate the Olympic distance and that's not for you, guess what? Please don't sign up for an Ironman and think it's going to be an enjoyable experience. If it's a bucket list, okay, but go with what you love, because you're going to set yourself up for failure, and it might be a disaster because you don't want to. When you're out there and it's hour 10 of an Ironman, or it's hour 18 and 19 in a 100-mile race, if you don't have the right mindset that you want to do this and you deep down enjoy it, that's not it. So I always say you have to want to do it. The rest of it, after you get your mind right, the rest of it will fall into place.
For sure. So you've officially convinced that sprint triathlon distance person to get into it for the first time, and you're explaining to them what an Ironman finish line feels like. Why don't you walk me through what goes through your head, both for your first Ironman finish and just the general thought process when you hear the announcer in the distance? What are you thinking about?
My dad. And I always get all choked up. My dad passed away before he could ever see me run. And it was sudden. And he was one of my biggest cheerleaders. Growing up, never missed a game, even high school, college. And one of the things that I do after I got sick, I realized that, I kind of reevaluate life and think that every finish line I cross could be my last. For me, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to wake up tomorrow and my legs aren't going to work. Who knows? But at every finish line to this day, even over the weekend, I did a half marathon. Every finish line I cross, I put my hand up in the air and I give my dad a high five. And I say, high five, Dad. We did it. And that, to me, whenever I do any race, I look forward to that high five. And I think that every person that does a race of any sort, you need to find out what your high five is. What are you running towards? Is it, are you running towards empowering yourself and feeling better? Are you running to a goal? Are you running to prove that you can because someone told you you can't? And whenever I think of, wow, this is really hard, I think of, wow, all right, I remember running down that first that red carpet and thinking like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. I never thought I could do this. And running through, and I have the picture that I have framed of, my hand up, giving my dad that high five through that first Ironman finish.
Love it. when you cross finish lines, are you a chaser or are you just kind of going through it at your own pace? Are you trying to run down that next person?
Oh gosh. I heard about the Pac Man. I did. And you know what? Well, when I run, yes, I Pac Man. I am not good enough at the bike to Pac Man people yet, which is to pick them off. Like, hey, red shoes, I'm coming for you. I'm very slow and I'm very patient, which makes me very dangerous. So I'll just, I'll look at people, and I've been at this industry for long enough that I can see people's gait. I could see people's form start to waver. I could see when, this person looks strong, this person's going to die out. And I mean, during finish lines, it's usually not about sprinting them out. If it's a marathon and I'm like, I'm going to PR today, and if I just pick it up a little bit, yeah. But other than that, I know my body, and that's really important. Like, when you're going to pick people off, when you should sit back. And at the end of the day, I ask myself, what's more important? Is it that age group wins? And I was a very competitive person, don't get me wrong. Or is it the fact that, I feel good, I'm not hurt, I'm going to live to tell another day and tell another adventure and story about my next race.
For sure. Love it. So we know we're getting you to come to Minnesota a few months from now, but what other plans do you have this year for racing?
All right. Well, I just got back from the Key West half marathon with a girlfriend who her dream was to run a race. And she also was celebrating her 5-year cancer-free anniversary. So it was the last 6 months. I'd helped her train for that, and she just finished her first race. So we just did that, and that was amazing. A great location if anyone gets down there in January. The weather is much warmer than Jersey and Minnesota. And coming up, I'll have the Boston Marathon is in April. I run that every year. I told myself when I got diagnosed that I would run it every year that I'm healthy enough to run it. So this is, I believe, my 9th in a row that I'll be running that. And I always raise money for different charities. So I'll be with the Alzheimer's Association in April, which they're fantastic. And then I'm headed out to the women's half, it's all women's Hamptons, like in the, very bougie in New York, Hamptons half marathon, which used to be the Nike running series. But they did away with it. And this is going to be the last all women's race out there that they do. And that leads right into a couple local races in the Jersey Shore, which kick off like the summer here. It's called the Spring Lake 5. It's a 5-mile race, and it's the biggest 5-mile race in the United States. So, Dane, you'll have to come out for that. It's a kickoff to Memorial Day weekend at some point. And then from there on, maybe a couple different little, obviously head to Minnesota for Clearwater, which I feel like the pressure's on at this point. I'm going to have to, step it up a little bit. And then in September is Ironman Chattanooga. And that's about where I'm at this point for racing.
Well, that doesn't sound busy at all. We can just leave it there.
Oh my gosh. So that's it. I like to keep myself busy, both in business and in sports. It keeps me out of trouble because I'll get in trouble if not.
So let's talk about keeping busy, because when you're not unleashing it on the run, the bike, and kind of getting through that swim, keyword, getting through. You had some time to write a book recently. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
That has been something I never, ever dreamed of. One of my majors in college was English, and I taught English for 15 years. And you look at authors like rock stars sometimes, like, oh my God, I could never write a book. Like Stephen King or Ernest Hemingway or Fitzgerald. And I always thought it was one of those things. Like, it was one of those bucket lists. Like, I wish that I could do this, but I don't think I can. And, well, apparently whatever I think I can't do is what I need to laser focus. And throughout the last 6 years, I've been hosting a podcast, and I've had the chance to do a lot of traveling in the last 10 years through the fitness industry and medical fitness and beyond, to conferences and present, and have met the coolest people, and I call them real life superheroes. And when I think of all of the stories that I've heard from other people and some of the just obstacles I've had to face and, you know, look fear in the face and just say, oh, not today, I wanted to share some of these stories. And I had the opportunity to do that in a book, and it's called Split Second Courage. What if your fears were the key to your dreams? And this is not a self-help book by any means, because I hate self-help books. I'm not giving you a step-by-step, like, Jane, you should do this and you should do this. And it's a lot of stories that are going to kind of make you reflect on your life and what you've been through, and think back to, what did I do in this situation and why? And split second courage is something that each of us have inside of us, but we don't always tap into it because we're afraid. And it talks about many different stories of people who have just been dealt with. Some people think of them as, you know, a bad hand in life, but other people think of them as gifts. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to understand that everything that I've had to face in life is a gift. And I would not be able to be where I am today and be able to help other people if it wasn't for all the times that I was kicked down and knocked down and just thought, this is it. And I'm excited. I'm nervous. It's being vulnerable, I guess, to the world after decades of just sitting back and not speaking, is where we're at. And this week, the book just came out as an ebook, and I know that I'm not supposed to say this just yet, but it hit bestseller in like 6 different categories. So it is now a best-selling book, and the paperback will be being released. And who's ever listening to this, I am totally available to come and speak. Just give me a shout out, give me a call. But it's about, you know, changing lives. That's what it is. You write a book because you want to help people. And I want everybody in the world to unleash their split-second courage in whatever it is that they want to do.
So you talk about in the opening of the book a mantra that you use to get through races. What's your mantra? Does it change race to race, or is it the same old thing?
I always say that I'm the yes you can girl. I am the yes you can girl. So that I will walk through a supermarket and people will be like, yes you can. It's really funny. That is what I think of. That is what I live. That is what I breathe. That there is no, you're going to doubt yourself. You are. You're going to be fearful. I cry. Literally, this is so embarrassing. I cry before every race. Like at some point, like they'll play the national anthem and I'm crying because you have to feel all the feels. You're scared. You're nervous. You're this. You let it in. Let it in and just keep reminding yourself that, yes, you can. Yeah, it doesn't change. It never, ever changes.
Excellent. No, I like it. The book, I'm partially through it. It's been a good read. Yeah, feel all the feels, embrace all the pain. You got some good lines in there that I've read so far. So let's circle back. Yeah. circle back to one more question. You just finished, this long run. You just finished a 2+ hour session, whether that's on the run, the bike. You've exhausted yourself. What are you doing first after these long training sessions?
This is great. When I first started running marathons, around mile 18, I would start visualizing my medium iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. I would visualize it. Like some people think about, I'm gonna go for a swim or shower or this or oh no. I'm like, okay, where's the nearest Dunkin' Donuts? Because it's my guilty pleasure, I don't need a beer. You can keep that. I need my medium iced coffee. I am such a Northeasterner. It's insane. That, and also I have this rule, and I was just away with a bunch of girls who ran. You keep your medal on, by the way, all day. There's only one time that you get a medal and you earned it, and you need to wear it for the rest of the day. Because do you ever wear your medals ever again?
No.
Dane, do you wear them to the grocery store?
No.
Yeah, see, that would be weird. So the day that you have a race, like when I'm out in Minnesota, that medal stays on all day. If you're flying, you're at the airport. You put it in the back. You're not going to get it in the metal detector. It's that's the other thing. You don't take the medal off after racing either. People like it. It encourages other people, But yeah, that's my thing after racing, or after not only racing but after training, long training.
Love it. So let's finish this off, Chris, with some rapid fire questions, if that's okay.
Oh, great! I love it.
And it's gonna be a little bit difficult because we're not in the same room together, but we'll do our best.
Okay.
All right. Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke.
Best wings sauce?
It could be barbecue. I mean, it could be like regular buffalo sauce, but it has to go into blue cheese.
All right. Very good. Milk or dark chocolate?
Oh my God, milk.
Favorite superhero?
Wonder Woman.
Favorite movie?
I would say off the top of my head, Ghostbusters, the original one.
Best movie quote?
No one steps on a church in my town.
What was your dream job as a kid?
Oh, I wanted to be a trainer for a professional sports team.
Do you have any pets?
2 cats, Mr. Rooney and Mr. Whiskers.
Best piece of advice you've received?
You are enough.
Favorite article of clothing in your closet right now?
Sweatpants.
Are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
What's your favorite caffeinated beverage of choice?
Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee. I mean, that's it.
Best flavor of ice cream?
Vanilla.
All right, very good. So, Chris, how can people get a hold of you or follow you?
All right. Everything. If you want to get in touch with me, all of my info is at www.christineconti.com. Super easy. First name, last name.com. It'll come right up. And then, of course, I'm all over social media. Instagram is so fun. It's get_ContiFit. Love it. You'll see me as it comes up. And, Facebook, Christine Conti. If you just put in my name, it's there. And then, of course, my podcast is Two Fit Crazies and a microphone. So at Two Fit Crazies is the other one if you want to hear more of my antics. But otherwise, that's it.
Love it, Chris. Well, thanks.
And the book.
Oh, yeah, the book. Talk about the book.
Courage. Yeah. Oh, there's that. And Split Second Courage. You can find that on my website and also just Amazon. Just put in Split Second Courage. It doesn't exist and now it does. So it's the only one there.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.